Let's get this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amid its chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is the Ike Wingate Show, where we endeavor to bring you common sense in the middle of nonsense, and that is what we see on a daily basis in our media, our culture, and our government, and we are here to expose the deception, shine light in the dark, and bring it all to the surface. And we are glad you are with us. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and do the thing where you share the show. That's what we want you to do. Yeah, exactly. And so we are glad you are with us today. We are being brought to you on the Right Side Broadcast Network, RSBN, as scheduling allows, and that will be the way it is for the foreseeable future. So if you're just now finding out about the Ike Wingate Show, please follow me on X at Ike Wingate or on Rumble at the Ike Wingate Show. There is a feud that is seemingly occurring between President Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, etc. What do you think is really at the root of this ordeal? President Trump has been very resistant to the Epstein files being released after he was elected president for the second time. Why do you think that is? Because prior to the election, he said, yeah, we'll release them. And then it's as if he saw the files and saw the nonsense and was like, this is a waste of time. And he's been fighting it. Or some believe this is his plan all along. Now, I would say you never know with President Trump because he is very calculated. He's the best at using a situation to his advantage. And a lot of times you think, what is he doing? And he pulls a rabbit out of a hat and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now, I will say this one feels a little bit different to me. I am definitely a supporter of President Trump. That doesn't mean that I agree with 100% of everything he does, no matter what. I don't agree with 100% of anything anyone does, no matter what, much less myself. I disagree with myself a lot and say, why did you do that? Why did you say that? And it's no different with President Trump. Now, any of this or none of this, I should say, are fatal mistakes or some kind of botched situation. Because really, apart from the victims, the Epstein files really don't affect our day-to-day lives, do they? Can you tell me how they do if I'm not seeing it? Let me know in the chat. We want you to comment throughout the show in the chat. But typically, you're not going to have your life affected by whether the Epstein files come out or not. Now, I will say this from the standpoint of, hey, we want to believe that there is leadership in charge that is willing to expose the corruption. So often we're just like, well, the government, no matter who's elected, it's corrupt. We want to believe that maybe it's possible that that's not the case. And so from a outlook standpoint from the American people, they are important in that respect, but they aren't going to change your life. They might change your belief one way or another in the trustworthiness of those at the very top. But really, this is not going to define President Trump's presidency one way or the other. Now, we want them. We don't want anyone protected. And so this one feels a little bit different because Trump was okay with the files coming out. And we're going to show you a clip back in 2015 where he was probably, maybe if not, the first person to mention this entire scandal. Now, I have another theory. President Trump saw what was in the files, saw these emails, and was like, this is ridiculous, because we have just absolutely zero doubt that Epstein was making stuff up in emails that he was sending people. Literally saying he was hanging out with Trump on Thanksgiving when Trump's entire timeline in 2017, while he was president, is known, and Epstein's not in it. So we know he was making stuff up. So maybe President Trump looked at it and said, this is ridiculous. We're not wasting our time on this because the Democrats are just going to try to use this against me. And he's come out hard against it. I will say it appears on the surface, not knowing maybe what's going on behind closed doors, that maybe there was a bit of an underestimation of just how important these files were, specifically to Republicans, because Democrats don't care at all unless Trump cares, and then automatically they care. I mean, I've had multiple Democrats go, well, why won't he release the files? And I'm saying, why didn't you ask that 4 years ago? You've never even said Epstein files until you heard President Trump talk about them. So miss me, save that, not real. But it's possible that President Trump underestimated just how important the files are. He has done a 180 and said, release it all, which I would argue you probably should have done that from the beginning. However, you could make the argument that it wouldn't be near as big of a controversy and he wouldn't have near the Democrat buy-in for the release had he not resisted. So still, I'm holding out the possibility that President Trump knows what he's doing in this and did it on purpose. It's always a possibility with Trump. You don't know. But there's this feud with Marjorie Taylor Greene. We are going to talk about that. We are going to get into what's in the Epstein files. We got into that last week. If you missed that, go back on my timeline at Ike Wingate on X or rumble.com/the Ike Wingate Show. You can see what we covered there, but we're going to get into a little bit more of that. The feud, we're calling it, with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Snap has now had to reset. And boy, this is an unintended consequence for Democrats. We'll talk about that. And the scoop on what Barron Trump actually said to President Biden on the day of his father's inauguration. Remember that viral clip where he goes right up to him? What was actually said? And then if you missed it over the last several days, the left has been trying to cancel Megyn Kelly. Okay? And I'm going to show you that clip. The House has passed the bill to release the Epstein files, goes to the Senate now. We're going to also talk about the Charlie Kirk assassin, some more details on whether or not he could have broken that gun down in time. We're going to show you an actual illustration of that. And who is Thomas Crooks? The guy who shot President Trump in the ear and killed Corey Compatore. We don't know that much about him, but Tucker Carlson has blown out this huge segment about him. And we're getting some additional details. Are they real? Are they planted? I don't know. And of course, before the end of the show, we will play today's Triggered Liberal. Help us out. Like, share, and subscribe to this broadcast. Repost us. That helps as well. Share the broadcast, as well as we want to see you in the chat talking about what we are talking about here today. We begin with the Epstein files. Democrats caught red-handed, says the House Oversight Committee, in a hoax about President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. They misled the public, lied about witness testimony, doctored documents. We talked about that last week. They redacted Virginia Giuffre's name to make it look like Trump was spending time with some victim based on this email. Well, Virginia Giuffre, before she allegedly committed suicide, she said Trump was never inappropriate with anyone, much less her. And so the House Oversight Committee has detailed these various points about the Epstein files that have been released so far. Democrats claim that Bill Barr could not clear Trump of any wrongdoing after his deposition. What did Barr actually say? No evidence that they had anything on Trump, and if they did, they would have indicted him. Those are his words. I never was told by the Southern District that they had evidence to support any claim like that after Jasmine Crockett tried to basically plant ideas in his mind. So that doesn't work. You've got Alexander Acosta. Democrats tried to smear Trump by linking him to Epstein via the 2007 case. Acosta crushed their narrative, testified that he never spoke, emailed, or had any contact with Trump about Epstein. None, ever. Okay. And then, of course, they cherry picked 3 emails out of 23,000 pages to try to make it look like Trump did something wrong. But again, we've talked about that selective redaction. They also redacted Prince Andrew's name out of some things as well to try to imply Trump had something to do with it. They lied about the redactions. Jasmine Crockett went on CNN, is like, I don't know who did that or why. And it's all basically accusation by omission. Democrats spent months screaming, release the files, then told the New York Times that doing so was meant to disorient and distract. After Republicans released the files, right? And then the New York Times edited their piece, removing the word disorient. Okay, like, okay, we want the files. Well, now that you release the files, you're only doing that to disorient and distract. There's no winning with these people because the truth is not in them. And then this absolute abuse of power and display of hypocrisy from the Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett from the U.S. Virgin Islands. I gotta be honest with you. I didn't even realize there was a congresswoman in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Okay, well, sorry. I'm not going to tell you I know everything, but I know a lot. I know a little about a lot. Okay? So anyway, we see all of these details that the Democrats tried to misdirect dishonestly with these Epstein files, but the Democrats aren't talking about Stacey Plaskett, who was texting with Epstein during the Cohen hearing. He was coaching her. And that's what's crazy. We're going to show you that in a minute. But did you know that she was given $30,000 from Epstein after it was known that he was a convicted sex offender? Or what about Bill Clinton traveling to Epstein Island potentially, or at least on the Lolita Express, Epstein's private jet, 26 times? Victims of Epstein wrote that they saw Clinton on Epstein's island with 2 young women. Why aren't they talking about that? Or that one of Clinton's former top aides corroborated that he had gone to the island. And then, of course, you got Larry Summers, who is out there today, the former Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, who said that Epstein was his wingman. Now he, of course, also was the ex-Harvard president today, announcing, I'm ashamed, I'm going to go away. Basically, that's not how it works, buddy. You don't just decide, well, yeah, I did something wrong, so I'm out of here. No. Democrats aren't talking about that, though. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is asked about it and basically has no answer. Did you know Katie Couric had dinner at Epstein's house? Katie Couric, after he was a convicted sex offender. What about Reid Hoffman, billionaire Democrat mega donor, founder of LinkedIn, the guy who funded the legal defense, or I'm sorry, not defense, the legal case for E. Jean Carroll alleging rape against President Trump. Reid Hoffman paid for it all. Why aren't Democrats talking about how he visited the island, attended dinner with Epstein, and even planned to stay at his New York mansion? Oh, also, Epstein gave the Democrat National Committee $32,000. Did the Democrats return it? No. Democrats aren't talking about any of that. And of course, President Trump called on House Republicans to release them all, get it all out there, get it out in the open. I don't care. That's literally what he said. I don't care. All I care about is that Republicans get back on point. So I think this gives us a little bit of insight into President Trump's mindset on this, that he believes this is just a distraction. This is nonsense. It's taking away the focus on what matters. I would agree with him there, but I believe that you have to resolve this first. There is too much public interest in it to dismiss it. Apparently, on the plane ride from Mar-a-Lago back to the White House is where some discussions happened, at least according to Politico, that made President Trump say, you know what? Why am I fighting this? The Democrats are the ones that are implicated in this. Get it all out there. Release the Kraken, basically. And so that's what he's doing. Now, on that plane ride, President Trump was asked by Jennifer Jacobs, I believe she's with Bloomberg, and she was shouting a question at him. This has gone viral. And he said, "Quiet piggy."
Sir,
Yeah,
is there
Jennifer,
something
go ahead.
incriminating in the file, sir?
Venezuela, sir.
Quiet,
Sir,
Okay. Now, some have thought that that was AI. It appears as though that is not AI. President Trump said, "Quiet, quiet, piggy." You want to see it again?
Yeah,
is there
Jennifer, go
something
ahead.
incriminating in the file, sir?
Venezuela, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's a little intense. I don't know what the context was. I did see President Trump. Let me see. I did see him with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and he went off on an ABC reporter. Okay. And he's amped up right now. He's frustrated with this distraction, frustrated with this shutdown, and I think it could be wearing on him a little bit. I mean, why wouldn't it? This guy works all the time. Has a historic first 10 months in office. Has he been hanging out at, Camp David for a week or scooting a beach chair around the sand? No. He's been working nonstop, keeping schedules that someone half his age would struggle to be able to keep up. I'm just looking up images of Jennifer Jacobs. So let's see here. This could have been, so this is what, oh, come on. What President Trump would have seen. No, not that. Right here. So he was looking, and this is what he saw. Maybe that's why he said it. I don't know. Maybe, in his mind, she resembled that of Miss Piggy. I don't know. But certainly the internet is going crazy saying how, disrespectful it is. What do you guys think? Chime in the chat. Should President Trump have done that? Was it justified? You tell me. Okay. David Sling says, why would President Trump besmirch a piggy like that? Oh, it's an insult to all piggies that Jennifer Jacobs was known as one. Okay. So we go now to this next story regarding the Epstein files. A newly revealed email shows Democrat funding group Dynamic SRG had contacted Jeffrey Epstein in 2013 to promote then freshman Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, calling him Brooklyn's Barack, while urging Epstein to support a major Democrat fundraising push. Again, they were all in contact with him. It makes you wonder, what was this guy up to, really? Brooklyn Barack. We call him Dollar Store Obama, but Brooklyn Barack. Hakeem Jeffries avoided the question altogether. I was asked about it this morning on Newsmax. Take a look. I messed it up, didn't I? Yeah, Brooklyn Barack is what they called him. Take a look at this.
Pass the bill. I'm assuming.
looking great for Democrats already. It even showed Epstein texting and helping a House Democrat during a hearing on the matter. And yet House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries couldn't even condemn one of his colleagues for communicating with the convicted sex offender during a congressional hearing. Take a listen to this.
Why should Americans trust you and House Democrats on the Jeffrey Epstein files when one of your own, Congresswoman Plaskett, was found to be texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a hearing, getting information from him, using that in her questioning during a congressional hearing? And at one point, he tells her, "Good job."
This is a bipartisan effort to make sure that, consistent with what the survivors have requested,
You notice he didn't answer the question whatsoever.
that there's full and complete transparency, and every single predator who may be in those Justice Department files doesn't escape accountability.
Okay, yeah, just like the headline says right there, he danced around the question, didn't really give an answer there on Congresswoman Plaskett's actions. Ike, what do you make of this?
Misdirect, deflect, and all of the above. Good morning, Charla. That's interesting that Hakeem Jeffries was unwilling to call this out because it's very easy to call it out. It's black and white. What's interesting, though, is allegedly Hakeem Jeffries was mentioned by Epstein in some of those emails as Brooklyn Barack, allegedly trying to raise some money. And so these people are all too close to the circle, getting heat now because they're too close to the sun, which was Epstein. Here's what's wild, though, is this guy was a creep. This guy was a Trump hater. He was Trump derangement syndrome patient, maybe number one. And what's unfortunate is we have been talking about him for years and years, and the guy was a total degenerate. And the thing that can't be missed, though, lastly, is people want this accountability. And I was surprised that this was such an important issue for people that watch my show, because I'm thinking we got to get on to other bigger options. Well, this is about accountability and being able to trust leadership again. And that can't be understated. And of course, for the victims in these crimes to receive justice.
Right.
Okay. Couldn't have said it better myself. So Brooklyn Barack, Hakeem Jeffries, I think that should be a nickname that sticks. Now, let's show you that Stacey Plaskett video where she's literally texting with Epstein while she's at this hearing, while they're questioning Michael Cohen at the same exact time. So we have, they went back and looked at the emails and or at the text.
Barack Obama.
They were able to corroborate.
United States. And while we were once driving through a struggling neighborhood in Chicago,
Epstein asks her, "Are you chewing?" I mean, this guy's just was such a weirdo. Are you chewing right now? Basically, like, I'm critiquing what you're doing. She's looking around and then texts him back, "Not anymore."
he commented that only black people could live that way. Attorney-client
message from Jeffrey Epstein. Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of the secrets.
Yes, I will turn it over.
You as my friend.
There she is, reading the text, being coached during this hearing by a sexual predator.
Meadows pointed out misled this committee even today in a written submission that contradicted your testimony. You have suggested.
She texts back, Rona, ?
Going to review that. Did you review? Are you going to review it in our next break to correct the record? Yes or no?
Yes.
She messaged back because he was taking a minute to get back with her. Quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym referring to the Rona?
You helped out the president's campaign or were involved in the campaign as a representative, as a spokesman, even in your words today.
He messages her back 30 seconds later. That's his assistant.
Your idea for the campaign dating back to 2011. Is that accurate? Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Weisenberg and other individuals, Ms. Rona. Who are those individuals? Are they with the Trump organization?
They
and are there other people that we should be meeting with?
So Alan Weisselberg is the chief financial officer.
You got to quickly give us as many names as you can so we can get to them.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Ms. Rona, what is Ms. Rona's position?
Rona Graff is the Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly next to his. And
all right. And then Epstein texts her, good work.
He's involved in a lot that went on.
So, Epstein prided himself as being some kind of puppet master behind the scenes, but this is just, I would say, a horrific look for the Democrats when you have a sexual predator coaching a member of Congress. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, and so we talked about Trump and how he's been resistant to it. Gaetano over on LinkedIn is chiming in saying, this is confusing because Trump doesn't need Congress to release it. He can just order the DOJ to release the files. Now, did you know that these files were attempted to be released 3 different times this year by the Trump administration and were blocked by 3 different judges, 2 appointed by Obama, 1 appointed by Bill Clinton? And so they have been trying to do it, getting around it, and finally have. Now, you could say that Trump could release these files. Maybe so, but you wouldn't want to do that. Politically speaking, you must get the Democrats on the record as far as their vote goes on whether or not they will release it. So I think that could be part of the strategy here. We go back to 2015, and this is where this may be one of the first places that the Epstein name was brought up as far as this island. I don't know, at least publicly from the standpoint of mentioned by a major political figure. This was during the campaign in 2015. At this time, candidate Trump.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So,
the Clintons are friends
and he's
of
been
yours,
there
right?
for many
The
times.
Clintons are friends
Well,
of
I
yours.
can't say friends, but I know
You're
them.
friendly. You know them.
They play at my clubs a lot. I have clubs, and everybody likes to play
Are
at
you
my
saying
clubs.
there's a political problem for her if she runs for president?
It could be a political problem. Look, he could be a political problem. Right now, he's Teflon, and right now, maybe not. But he could end up being a political
I want to ask one question.
Sounds like that was Mark Halperin, I think, asking the questions there. Maybe he wasn't. Was he actually a candidate at this time? Maybe he had not declared just yet, but he brought it up. And so here's another thing that we're hearing about these files is that there was a fall. There was. Well, let me back up. Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago years ago. Okay, when he found out that he was a creep and he was trying to hire away his employees, kicked him out years ago. Since then, Epstein had an axe to grind. Now, as President Trump was elected, gained more power, like that Epstein went crazier and crazier, as you could see in the emails, like obsessed with them. But there's another aspect that may be at play here, and that is that Epstein and Trump competed to get certain real estate deals, I believe, in Palm Beach. I believe that was the location where they both lived. And so there was some kind of rivalry going on there. And so, Trump is like, I wasn't hanging out with the dude. Trump did not like the guy. And so you could make the case that because of President Trump's disdain for this guy and what a weirdo he was, and the fact that this is not part of the agenda to really save America, and the fact that he, again, doesn't like him is like, forget about this. You're just going to try to make this into some kind of hoax because my name is mentioned, but that's because the guy didn't like me. Anyway, President Trump was one of the guys who brought it up years and years ago. And he may have thought, years ago from a political standpoint that it was going to be relevant. And after all these years later, 10 years later, he's like, why are we still talking about this guy? And that's sort of what I was trying to say in my remarks this morning on Newsmax is this guy's really not worthy of any of the air that's being expended to talk about him because he was a freaking scumbag and he's dead and he's irrelevant now. Now, I get the transparency. I get the accountability desire. I do. I just think Jeffrey Epstein, was not relevant enough in life to garner this kind of attention. But anyway, Let's just get these things out, hold the people accountable, and move on, is what I would like to say. Now, author Barry Levine went on Michael Smerconish and told CNN he thinks Epstein meant in that 2011 email about the dog that doesn't bark. He thinks he's referring to the fact that he believes Donald Trump talked to Michael Ryder, who was the Palm Beach police chief in 2004, and began the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. It could be Trump doesn't want people to know that he was informing the FBI and the police on Epstein during this. I don't know. You never know. But I can tell you this with almost near certainty. It wasn't because Trump is worried about being implicated in some kind of sex ring.
We'll put it up on the screen, and I will ask you, the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. What do you think he's referring to?
Well, I think Jeffrey Epstein is referring to the fact that he believes that Donald Trump talked to Michael Ryder, who was the Palm Beach police chief in 2004, and began the first investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. I suspect that Jeffrey Epstein, in his conversation or email with Maxwell, was saying he was 75% there, believing that Trump might have been the whistleblower at the time. Again, you have to remember that particular year, the two men had a falling out, not only over the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell was taking young women from his spa at Mar-a-Lago for Jeffrey Epstein, but they also had a nasty real estate deal that both men were trying to get. So there was bad blood between the two of them.
Okay, so it's a combination then of the...
So there you hear the details about the real estate deal.
Trump being the dog who didn't bark, and that additional line on that email, we'll put it back on the screen, police chief, etc., I'm 75% there, meaning he's 75% there to believing that Trump is an informant against him?
That is what I believe based on my research of years of the Jeffrey Epstein story.
Okay, but
you also have to
Barry,
remember that
Barry,
the House Speaker at one point,
Barry, if Donald Trump were an informant, if Donald Trump dropped the dime on Jeffrey Epstein, why wouldn't he today in this climate be shouting it from the mountaintops? I'm the one who put him away.
That's a question that only the president can answer. And again, the Palm Beach police have never said that Donald Trump was an informant. However, not too long ago, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, said that Donald Trump was an informant on this particular case. So it is rather confusing.
Okay. So there you see a little bit more insight. But this guy, Barry Levine, has done all this research. He's not some Trump apologist and says, yeah, there's nothing that's implicating Trump in here. In fact, based on my research, this is what I believe was going on. Now, you want to talk about some of the people that are defending Democrats in the Biden administration, people that hate Trump, saying, oh, well, Biden couldn't have released the files, like this Nicole Menet. The Epstein files were under seal during the Biden administration due to Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. No one had access to them, and anyone with any information about this, about what's in them, would be putting that trial in jeopardy and risking a mistrial. Okay. Steve Gruber chimes in. No, this is not true. While some Epstein-related court documents, primarily from a 2015 civil defamation lawsuit brought by victim Virginia Giuffre against Ghislaine Maxwell, were indeed under seal for years, including during parts of the Biden administration, the situation is far more nuanced. The documents were not exclusively sealed due to Maxwell's criminal trial. Multiple parties, journalists, victims, and the public had access to portions of them over time, and their unsealing proceeded without jeopardizing the trial or risking a mistrial. So that is not true. Not true that they couldn't release them, because a lot of them were released. Now I want you to take a look at a it looks like a deceptive sort of strategy or practice, rather, that the FBI appears to engage in. Robbie Starbuck caught this, saying you should notice here in these documents how the FBI misspells Clinton, Weiner, and Abaddon Abedin, makes it much harder for a FOIA to find. In this one, I'd bet the use of HRC for Hillary Rodham Clinton is how it was found. Think about how messed up this is. The FBI has long behaved as if it should be allowed to do whatever it wants. This must end. And so you're doing a search for these things, and in these in the correspondence, they're misspelling Anthony Weiner as Wisner. Hillary Clinton, they just put HRC, and then they misspell Clinton and spell it Clinin, Clinton's, and Abedin is how they spelled Abedin. They misspelled every one of their names specifically. Now, do we know that this was intentional? Well, when you see this over and over and over, it starts to look like, hey, this appears to be a pattern, ladies and gentlemen. And so these are things to be aware of. Is apparently you have to do a search and find for misspellings as well, which is really ridiculous. Mostly Penny says, no freaking way that the FBI is involved in a possible scandal. I'm shocked. Yeah, you could detect a bit of sarcasm. Now, I see some trolls in the chat saying that I am defending a pedophile when I defend President Trump on these Epstein files. Well, okay, let's do this. Why don't you find me the proof in any of these files? Not that an email from Jeffrey Epstein is proof, by the way, but when you have all these different people that have been involved in the case that didn't like Trump, Bill Barr, I mean, he went against Trump many times. All of these people that would be motivated to take him down. In fact, you had James Comey's daughter allegedly approach a person. I can't remember who it was. Who was it that she approached and said, she approached Epstein and said, if you got anything on Trump, you don't have to prove it. It just has to be your word against his, allegedly, according to a report. So you have all these people that could have nailed Trump to the wall on this deal, but they didn't. Why is that? Maybe because there's not actually any proof, because maybe it actually didn't happen. So you're so sure, based on your ridiculous comments in the troll chat, that President Trump is a pedo. Why don't you prove it? Give one piece of proof. Lawsuits are not proof, by the way, because anybody can sue anybody for anything at any time. And so that's not going to work. But again, you throw out this accusation when we actually do have a bazillion examples of prominent Democrats hanging out with him at his house, having dinner after he was a convicted sexual predator, a convicted sex offender. After. You could argue the people that hung out with him years before didn't know that about him. So it's possible. And I mean, President Trump and others fit into that space where this guy, Epstein, is at all these big events, hanging out, rubbing elbows. There are people like this. If you go to many events and get out of your mom's basement, you would see you're at events. I go to events, and there are people, I know it's hard to believe for you, that ask to take pictures with me for whatever reason. And I'm going, I don't know this person, but I will oblige, take a picture, talk to people, have a conversation. But I don't know everything about them. I don't know what they do in their personal life. And this was the time period when Trump actually was in circles where he was. Once he found out the dude was a creep, he was like, get away from me. That's not the case for a lot of these Democrats, hanging out with him, having dinner with him, going to his island, flying on his plane. You're not interested in those people, though. All you're interested is spewing on your keyboard like a cowboy, keyboard cowboy over there, accusations against President Trump where there is no proof. Show me proof and we will talk about it. But you have none, and I'll wait. But until then, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be coming back with details on this feud between President Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Back after this, you're watching the Ike Wingate Show. Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. You know, one thing I was thinking about this morning is, when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit, preparewithike.com. Thanks for watching the Ike Wingate Show. If you would, we are trying to spread this mission, and you could do something to help us out right now. Whatever platform you're watching on, hit the thumbs up, especially on Rumble. That helps us in the algorithm. While you're there on Rumble, hit the follow button as well. And down in the chat, when we're live, there's a little button that says subscribe. If you're watching in your browser, you'll be able to see that. Hit the button, and for $5 a month, you become an official Ike Nation subscriber. That means you get exclusive emojis, and we can read your comments a lot more easily. But the best part is you are instrumental in the fight for truth and freedom of speech. And if you want to take it even further, hit the join button and come on over to our Ike Nation Locals community. Basically, this is an online community for people just like you who want to chat, who want to sharpen one another, share different stories, all free of big tech, free speech, censorship. It's $5 a month, and by doing this, you are further supporting our mission to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, our culture, and our media. So to recap, whatever platform you're watching on, hit the thumbs up. If you're watching on X, hit the heart and retweet this post to get it out there. And then whatever other platform, hit the heart or the thumbs up or whatever the platform wants you to do. But on Rumble specifically, the best way that you can support our mission is to become a $5 a month paid subscriber right there in the live chat. If you're not seeing the subscribe button in the live chat, that means you need to watch the show on your browser. If you're watching in the mobile app, you don't see the subscribe button because then, well, Rumble would have to give part of your money to the App Store. Rumble doesn't want to do that. They want to give all of your contribution to the actual content creator, which we think is great. So, in order to do that, go out to your browser on your phone, your Safari browser, Chrome browser, whatever it is that you search the internet with, and type in rumble.com/The Ike Wingate Show. Then open the live chat. You'll see that subscribe button. Hit it there. $5 a month, recurring. You don't have to do it ever again, and you can go back to watching in the mobile app. Just one of the little things you can do to help us get to the masses as we endeavor to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, culture, and media. Thank you for being an instrumental part of this mission.
Shining a light into the dark corners of our government, our culture, and our media. Now back to the Ike Wingate Show.
Welcome back in. We are about to get into the feud between President Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Of course, if you're watching the show for the very first time, we are now syndicated through our friends at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Make sure you're following them on X and YouTube and all the places. But we are glad to be with Right Side Broadcasting for this broadcast of the show as scheduling permits. And now we want to get to some of your...
It's time for comments.
Okay. The genius in the chat is what I would call it. Let's see. Gaetano says they should stop consuming propaganda. It's not good for you. Yes, we're talking about some of the trolls. Let's see. David Slink says, I saw there was proof that internet trolls are spawned on that island where bad things are done by the Clintons. Let's see here. Mostly Penny says that I just got word that internet trolls are on the Epstein list from an anonymous whistleblower. Yeah, it's got to be true, right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right. Several other comments from the various platforms. We are trying to get through them as we are able throughout the show. Keep the chat going, my friends, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and share the show. If you're watching on X, heart the post and repost. You're watching on Rumble, give us a thumbs up. All the other platforms as well, give us a thumbs up, please. All right. So we have from President Trump a Truth Social post where he says he has withdrawn his support and endorsement for Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. He says, despite my creating record achievements for our country over the last few weeks on all the different, things that he has achieved success on. That is a long run-on sentence there, President Trump. All wacky Marjorie has done is complain. It seemed to all begin when I sent her a poll stating that she should not run for senator or governor. So there is a Senate seat up. There is a governor's seat up. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's not running for it, but was she considering it? It seems logical that she would have considered it. President Trump said he sent her a poll about it, said it was 12%. She didn't have a chance. She has told many people that she is upset that I don't return her phone calls anymore. But with all these different people I have to work with, Congressman, it's hard to do. So basically, he has taken back his endorsement of her, and she, has been ripping him for days. Then she says President Trump just attacked. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeting this out. President Trump attacked me, lied about me. I haven't called him at all, but I did send these text messages today. Apparently, this is what sent him over the edge, the Epstein files. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example to scare all the other Republicans before next week's vote to release the Epstein files. It's astonishing how hard he's working. Blah, 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 blah. Here are the text messages. Let's see. Are the texts that you send blue? Let me see here. Yeah, so this is her text to him. Check the flight log of Epstein's plane. Bill Clinton is on there 26 times. Hillary too. For many of us, releasing the Epstein files has always been for the women who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein, but also because we believed that Democrat bad guys like the Clintons were entangled and involved with him. Epstein was the spider that wove the web of the deep state. Lean into it. So, yeah, these are the text messages. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, I don't worship or serve Donald Trump. I worship God. Jesus is my savior, and I serve my district and the American people. That is what she said. Okay, so you got this feud going back and forth. Now, I think, if you look at the way Marjorie Taylor Greene has gravitated toward bashing Trump, advocating for Medicaid subsidies, advocating for amnesty for certain people, like she's definitely gone to the center on multiple fronts. One could argue that if she is suffering as far as polling goes in her home state, then she's recognized that she's too far to the right. She has to find moderate positions in the middle to try to regain some support. I think that's probably a reasonable theory about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, you got some people that are going, wait a minute, this isn't cool, because President Trump is also, he went after Thomas Massey and said, it was really odd that he got remarried after only 18 months following his wife's passing. You could say, well, that's out of bounds. You shouldn't say that. Or you could say that President Trump was posting what a lot of people thought. I mean, I thought at the time, you're already married? Wow, okay. Well, look, I mean, everybody grieves differently. But I was like, holy cow, we still don't even, I mean, do we even know how she died? And apparently she, had some condition. But, I mean, it was all kept very secretive, which that's his right to do. But then he publicly, celebrated and invited a bunch of people to this wedding to this woman. And so it was like, whoa, wait a minute. Seems a little quick, but whatever. That's your business. I don't know. I don't know how long she was sick. But I think President Trump just said what a lot of people were thinking. Now, you could say it's below the office of the president, maybe. But it has brought up the contrast between how he's going against Massey, who I like Massey on most issues. I think he's impractical in a lot of the ways he tries to get things done when it's like, dude, you're not going to change the way that Congress works in 2 weeks. When you're mad about the spending or whatever it is, like, you've got to do something different well in advance. But anyway, principally speaking, I think he's right on a lot of stuff. So President Trump's going after him too. And it's like, wait a minute. It's basically like, hey, we like both of these people. Please don't fight. It's like, please don't fight, mom and dad. We love you both. But it has brought out the contrast between President Trump is against Massey, but he hosts, this charity event, this fundraiser rather, for Republicans, the Trump Graham Golf Classic. So some people in MAGA over the last few days have been upset. Like, why are you cool with Lindsey Graham, but you're against Thomas Massey? I mean, Lindsey Graham is practically a Democrat with an F Liberty score. You compare that to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has an A Liberty score from Conservative Review. And it's like, well, again, we like these people. Now, I would say Marjorie Taylor Greene's kind of crazy. Thomas Massey, a little crazy. Lindsey Graham, that dude, is a rhino. He really likes war. He really likes war. He literally has said it. Like, I love hearing about dead Russians. So that is an interesting contrast between the two of those candidates. Okay? Again, these are not things that we want to have happening. And this is what's led me to think maybe Charlie Kirk was holding MAGA together in a way that we didn't quite realize was happening behind the scenes. Because I'm looking at it going, what has happened here? I mean, Democrats have all these legitimate reasons for infighting based on the way that they handled the shutdown. It was horrific. Total disaster. And so you got people saying Schumer should step down. Sorry, shut down and Schumer are so intertwined in my brain. But you have all these people saying that. And then you have the Republicans over here that have all of these wins on the Trump agenda. The two things you see causing division in MAGA is the Epstein files and the Israel-Hamas, Israel-Palestine conflict. And I look at it and say, guys, you can have your opinions, but these are not hills to die on when the overall well-being of our country is the number one thing we should be focused on, and how to get into a period of prosperity and success in our country. That's what we need to be focused on. Now, thankfully, after the elections in Virginia, New Jersey, whatever, hopefully after these Epstein files are released, I mean, that can be the clear and definitive focus of MAGA. And I know that's where President Trump wants to take it. Wisely so. That's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on where are we seeing the wins and what's the outlook for things to get even better. And many economists are saying you're going to have a down Q4 because of the shutdown. Billions of dollars did not get put back into the economy. Which brings up another whole thing is why is the well-being of our country's economy so dependent on government spending? I mean, think about this. You have the Doge cuts and all these things, and you see certain things taking a hit. It's like, do we actually have a real economy? Are we really in the middle of socialism, but it's been disguised as essential workers in the government? It makes you wonder, because when you take out all this government spending that's being pumped back into the economy, it's like, wait a minute, actually the economy's not, maybe it's a facade, maybe it's a house of cards. President Trump has done the right things to correct those things, so going forward we won't have those issues, but there, of course, is going to be a little bit of pain. There's actually been a lot less pain than I was expecting. The pain that we have seen has been a little bit delayed. So Q4 comes out, the numbers aren't going to be good because of the shutdown. But the economists predict that Q1 is actually really when we're going to see some of these policies having taken effect, taxes, etc. And that's when you're going to see the positive outlook. So part of this whole financial system here, the economy, the stock market, investor confidence, it's all about feelings, and it's all about the news. And if you're talking about and citing data for positive upticks in certain areas, and you're consistently telling that story, it's going to raise consumer confidence. It's going to raise investor confidence. It's basically just a feeling. I know it sounds crazy, but it is a fact. And that is going to actually help people start letting go of more of their money, all while you have to keep getting the prices down on energy, groceries, keep gas prices low. All of it works together. You get a rate cut from the Fed, then it goes even further. And so there are a lot of things that are ready to, I would say, become unleashed in a positive way on the American economy. But we have to, again, be out there telling the positive stories to reinforce. And of course, the obvious policies and things have to be happening too that are affecting those things as well. But back to my point, which I don't even know how I got off on the economy, I was talking about Charlie Kirk. It seems he may have been more responsible than we initially thought as it related to behind the scenes calming people down, having these text conversations directly with these various lawmakers like, hey, look, I think we should bring the temperature down. You know, he means well on this and this and this, and she means well on this and this and this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know he was doing it, but it may have been much more far-reaching than we originally thought, because guess what's happened since he's been killed? Disunity, dissension, division. Am I wrong? Think about the trend that we've seen. And we got, people going after each other on the right. So anyway, we really could use a Charlie Kirk figure that has the ear and the influence of these people to be able to be, sort of a calming presence behind the scenes. And of course, here was Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking at the Capitol. And here's what she had to say.
And that's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people, whom we serve as representatives here in Congress, demanded that this vote happen, and they put more pressure on every single elected politician in this city than has ever been put on them. And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files, but the real fight will happen after that.
Wow, she looks kind of tired. I don't know. Obviously, I don't like this back and forth. Marjorie Taylor Greene does have a pattern of seeking the spotlight and being a little crazy. I'm just saying it. But to President Trump's point about that 12% polling, Scott Jennings recently said this as far as his opinion on why the fallout.
Technically true, based on what I've heard and what I know, that he didn't tell her not to run. But what she didn't say was that he sent her a poll privately, discreetly, and it had information in it. And it showed her down 20 points to John Ossoff. And so in politics, when you want to send a message to someone that you like or that has been an ally, you don't embarrass them publicly. You privately send them information and show them what the reality is. And so I think it's true that he didn't tell her not to run, but it's also true that he did her a big favor, which is to show her information that a candidacy statewide in Georgia for her would have been a disaster.
All right. So that is the theory as to why there was the falling out there between Marjorie Taylor Greene and President Trump. I'm hopeful this stuff gets put behind the conversation in media and on the right, and we move on to what really matters. I'm not saying that, the Israeli-Palestine conflict doesn't matter, or I'm not saying that the Epstein files don't matter. I'm not saying they don't matter. I'm saying in comparison to the other fish we need to fry, they are not high priority as far as what needs to be done here in the United States of America for the betterment of our people and prosperity. Okay? We're going to be coming back with details on a snap reset, what Barron Trump said to Joe Biden, and the left's attempt to cancel Megyn Kelly over what she said about Jeffrey Epstein and whether or not he was actually a pedophile. We'll be back with all those stories and more right after this.
Welcome to the world of Q streaming, where the future of home entertainment is here today. Q streaming gives you the power to choose what you want to watch, when you want to watch, and where you want to watch your favorite shows and sports on up to 5 devices simultaneously. Q streaming brings together all your favorite streaming services in one place for only $2 a day. You can't get a cup of coffee for that. With the easy-to-use interface that is intuitive and user-friendly, we make it a breeze for you and your family to find something you all love. You can start watching on your phone and seamlessly continue on to your TV, iPad, or laptop. With the Q streaming app, you can watch on any device, whether you're on a road trip or flying to your next destination. Q streaming is compatible with most streaming devices and smart TVs, so you can enjoy your favorite shows and movies on the big screen. And for all the sports fans, Q streaming offers your favorite college and professional sports from around the world, providing the ultimate sports experience. Q streaming is the future of home entertainment. Say goodbye to cable and limitations and embrace endless possibilities. Start enjoying the freedom to watch what you want, when you want, and where you want for only $2 a day.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at IkeWingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at IkeWingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming. Thanks for watching the Ike Wingate Show. If you would, we are trying to spread this mission, and you could do something to help us out right now. Whatever platform you're watching on, hit the thumbs up, especially on Rumble. That helps us in the algorithm. While you're there on Rumble, hit the follow button as well. And down in the chat, when we're live, there's a little button that says subscribe. If you're watching in your browser, you'll be able to see that. Hit the button, and for $5 a month, you become an official Ike Nation subscriber. That means you get exclusive emojis, and we can read your comments a lot more easily. But the best part is you are instrumental in the fight for truth and freedom of speech. And if you want to take it even further, hit the join button and come on over to our Ike Nation Locals community. Basically, this is an online community for people just like you who want to chat, who want to sharpen one another, share different stories, all free of big tech, free speech, censorship. It's $5 a month, and by doing this, you are further supporting our mission to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, our culture, and our media. So to recap, whatever platform you're watching on, hit the thumbs up. If you're watching on X, hit the heart and retweet this post to get it out there. And then whatever other platform, hit the heart or the thumbs up or whatever the platform wants you to do. But on Rumble specifically, the best way that you can support our mission is to become a $5 a month paid subscriber right there in the live chat. If you're not seeing the subscribe button in the live chat, that means you need to watch the show on your browser. If you're watching in the mobile app, you don't see the subscribe button because then, well, Rumble would have to give part of your money to the App Store. Rumble doesn't want to do that. They want to give all of your contribution to the actual content creator, which we think is great. So, in order to do that, go out to your browser on your phone, your Safari browser, Chrome browser, whatever it is that you search the internet with, and type in rumble.com/The Ike Wingate Show. Then open the live chat. You'll see that subscribe button. Hit it there. $5 a month, recurring. You don't have to do it ever again, and you can go back to watching in the mobile app. Just one of the little things you can do to help us get to the masses as we endeavor to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, culture, and media. Thank you for being an instrumental part of this mission.
Bringing critical thinking back to America. Now back to the Ike Wingate Show.
Welcome back into the broadcast. Like, share, and subscribe. Repost, share this broadcast. We need your help in getting the word out, and let us know what you think about what is happening on the show in the chat. Again, we want to say thank you and welcome to our friends in the audience of Right Side Broadcasting Network, as we'll be bringing you this show on the network as scheduling permits. And you can follow me on X at Ike Wingate. It's there on the bottom of the screen. Follow me on X as well as at Rumble, on Rumble at the Ike Wingate Show. And then we can stay connected. How about that? So let's get some of your comments. How about that? Are we not playing the thing?
It's time for comments.
Yes, here we are. Okay. Let's see here. So we have mostly Penny. When I was talking about Charlie Kirk being the voice of reason to try to bring the temperature down among MAGA, he says, I'm definitely not the voice you're looking for. David Sling says it should be a simple message out there. Same day voting, paper ballots, show an ID, and only mail-in ballots for documented inability to make it to the polls. You hope to make you have to make the filibuster. Sorry, you have to nuke the filibuster and impeach unconstitutional judges. Okay. Let's see. There was one over here that was good. Let's see. Roadrunner says Republicans don't scare easily. Amen. All right. And then I saw another one from YouTube. Another one from YouTube. It was something about Charlie Kirk. Kirk was a man of God, says, Roadrunner again. Rest in peace, Charlie. Indeed. All right. Now, let's get into our next story here. Next story is we are talking about the SNAP benefit reset. Okay. Unintended or intended consequence of the shutdown. I don't know. I know Democrats wouldn't want it, but all SNAP recipients are required to reapply as the Trump administration cracks down on fraud. So what happened was the Democrats shut down the government and it exposed just how many people are on SNAP benefits. 42 million people. A lot of those people are not believed to be legal. They're not legal. And so that is something that has to be reconciled. And so now anybody who receives SNAP has to reapply as the Trump administration is going to be cracking down on fraud. So Democrats probably weren't ready for that. They probably weren't thinking of that. But when you shut down the government and then it brings to light all these different people, which, by the way, there's so much abuse of these programs. Again, I am okay for a period of time to help people get out of a tough spot. A hand up, not a handout. Okay? It's temporary unless someone is permanently disabled and has no help or something like that. But mostly, I am against these types of welfare programs. They steal people's dignity, create lifelong parasites on the government, and do not help the people in the long run for what's in their best interests. There is dignity at work, and even if someone is having a temporary setback, okay, but it shouldn't be long term. I don't know if 6 months, a year, something like that, unless there's some kind of extenuating circumstance. And then even then, not everyone needs the same amount of assistance. Someone who is getting by but needs a little extra help wouldn't be getting the same amount of help as someone who is totally disabled and can't work. Looks like Facebook is having some kind of issue. Did everybody have an issue on X and Truth recently? Like it wasn't working at all? Anyway, I don't know if there's some kind of a cyber attack going on. But if you're watching on Facebook, come over to X or Rumble because they're having some kind of issue over there. Now, that being said, because the Democrats shut down the government, it exposed this program being, made up of a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. So be careful what you wish for, Democrats. When you shut down the government, people are going to find out. So we know that there are people illegally obtaining these benefits. We also know there are dead people obtaining these benefits, and there are people obtaining these benefits that they don't use the entirety of what they get every month, and then they go sell it for cash, for a discount. Let's say they get $1,000 in groceries, and they spend $500 of it That means they got $500 left on their card. They go sell it to somebody for $300. The person says, I'm going to get $500 in groceries for $300. The person getting the SNAP benefit says, if I don't use it, I lose it. So I might as well get $300 cash than lose these groceries. And so it is definitely fraud. But there are also dead people receiving SNAP benefits.
Now says that everyone who's on SNAP is going to have to reapply. Now, this happened, of course, when the government shut down and there was, the SNAP benefits were not getting out to the people.
For 42 million Americans.
For 42 million. Well, we
people
thought Americans.
Inside the country.
People is
One
probably
out of
the
eight.
better. Yep. People. And so Brooke Rollins, we had her on and we had a great conversation with her where she said, hey, listen, this whole SNAP benefits conversation around the shutdown has sort of pulled the curtain back, and people are seeing how many people are on SNAP that aren't actually citizens, and they're going to have to reapply. What do you make of this? I think it's very popular, especially if you go online and look at what people think. I think it's a popular initiative to say these benefits are for Americans. Is she going to be able to accomplish this? Is she going to have some legal challenges to it? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm sure. Everything that comes from the Trump administration, I just track it and see how long it takes for it to land in the Supreme Court. So there are going to be legal challenges. But the thing is, most of these programs with SNAP are administered by the states. And a lot of the states do have verification programs where people have to update every 3 to 6 months or, really establish that they got some kind of need. But maybe she's proposing something at the federal level that would then have a federal component for, applying and proving that you actually need this. Because I think all of us are compassionate Americans. Like, we want our fellow Americans to get help when they need it. And we've all known people, if not our own families, that have walked through these periods of needing this kind of help. But Secretary Rollins also said that she found there were 186,000 checks or SNAP benefits going out to people who were dead. So if that's accurate, that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. And there are other problems with the program too. So I think a lot of Americans would say, gosh, I didn't realize before we were having this conversation, there were 42 million people on these benefits. Maybe it's, not such a bad idea.
It's hard to eat a fudge round when you're dead, isn't it? It's hard to have a good meal on the government taxpayer dime when you're dead, right? As Oliver Anthony's song said, 5'3", 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your box of fudge rounds. Wise words. And now we have dead people. How are these dead people getting free Doritos? We need to find that out. But Gaetano chiming in on LinkedIn says that everyone having to reapply for SNAP is genius. Let's see. Jim is over on YouTube, says our government should stop being a soap opera and do the will of the people. If they waste so much time fighting and acting like children in a fight on the playground, grow up and get busy. I mean, I'm all for busy politicians, but not busy, in corruption, right? All right, you remember back on Inauguration Day where Barron Trump walked up to Biden and Biden looked really confused and crazy, and everyone's like, oh, what did he just say? Let me see if I can bring this video up. Here we go. See what it does here. So you see Barron Trump going over there, and everyone, wonders what he said. Okay, there's not really any sound. I don't want to get a ding from YouTube or whatever. But let's play that again. He walks up to Biden. Biden sort of smiling, and Barron Trump leans in, and then Biden looks really confused. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, he just told him what's what. We're coming after you. Get ready. And Biden's really scared. Well, it turns out it wasn't like that at all. Apparently, Eric Trump, his brother, revealed the truth recently on a podcast. And it turns out that that was just the way Biden looked. His look was simply his general demeanor of perpetual confusion, as the Gateway pundit puts it. And Barron was characteristically kind to the old man. During an interview with Megyn Kelly, Eric Trump said basically he one night, Eric called Barron and said, "Hey, buddy, what did you actually say to Biden?" And Eric said, "It was something so polite, I almost wouldn't even get it right, but like something like congratulations and best of luck to you," or something like that, something very respectable. It just happens that Biden just looked confused like he normally does. So I guess, that checks out, but it wasn't as salacious as we thought it might be. But speaking of salacious and controversial, the left has been trying to get Sirius XM host Megyn Kelly canceled and defunded and all those things after this clip where she is talking about Jeffrey Epstein. So the left is saying that she's defending pedophiles, defending this Jeffrey Epstein behavior like it's no big deal. Take a look at the clip.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts.
Really, I guess they forgot about that part. This is disgusting. I'm not trying to make excuses about it. I'm just giving you facts.
That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds.
Okay. This isn't saying that it's okay. She never says that. She's delineating, she's describing, she's articulating that the broad term pedophile usually comes with the perception that someone is into little kid, explicit material, and just very young activity type stuff. All completely reprehensible, disgusting, terrible. Okay? It's all bad. All she's doing is pointing out that, just for clarification, when we say pedophile, we're not saying that Epstein was into that, although he's into plenty of bad stuff, but just for clarification. She's never excusing any of it. There's a difference. There is a difference, although it's all bad, in someone who's a furry and being into weird child porn cartoons and then into actual child materials like that too, and activities with children. Like, there's a difference in that versus someone who is gravitating toward someone who's looks like a woman but is not of age. Okay? There are different sicknesses. Okay? I'm not saying there's a hierarchy. It's just a clarification of the sickness of the specific thing that that guy was into. Okay? That's all it is. It's clarification. It's not an excuse. It's not a justification. It's not a diminishing.
But he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn. Now they call it child sexual abuse material on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters
or anything else
anymore.
Okay, again, clarification from what Pam Bondi said versus people she knows that knew Epstein or had some knowledge of the case regarding what kind of activities he was involved in. Okay? It's a clarification because the broader term and the CSAM stuff seems a little bit out of place from the activities we believe he was involved in. Like, to me, it's like, okay, well, that's a different ring of darkness that's beyond what we were to understand about this guy. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's a clarification. It's not a defense. It's not a diminishing.
Yeah, so I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. You can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. Yeah. It's just.
Okay. They all may be sick, but they're, it's a distinction. Okay. Maybe clarification is the wrong word. And the distinction is important from the standpoint of where is this, these allegations of some of this other stuff going on, and where did that come from? Because are we just using a broad term, or is that a specific term? In other words, it's one of those accountability and transparency things that if there are those types of things, we need to be told about that. I don't want to know any specifics, but that would be different than what we've been told this entire time. And then you have the allegations of the people involved, and it's like, then you wonder, was it with something like that? Because if you're talking about being tricked into, a grown man being blackmailed with a woman who looks 18 or older but isn't, that's one thing. It's bad enough. It's another thing if you're telling me that people were exploiting children and there's more to it than that. Like, again, it's all bad. It's just there is a distinction, and we haven't been told about any of those other things, if those, in fact, were going on, except for Pam Bondi saying that there was this, these videos of children, is what she said. So is she saying a 15-year-old is a child? I don't know. But again, we need clarification. This literally is a completely reasonable question, reasonable conversation in my mind. You can cancel me over it if you want. But to me, we need to be told if that difference was going on. You can't just broadly say these terms if we're not specifically talking about some of these things. Megyn Kelly asking for that is completely reasonable. And the fact that the left tried to get her canceled over this, again, they knew that's not what she was saying, but they tried to put words into her mouth because they want her to go away. They were opportunists, and they were trying to do it at Megyn Kelly's expense. All right. We're going to come back and talk about the Charlie Kirk assassin. Did he have time to disassemble the gun? What's the deal with Thomas Crooks being a furry, the guy who shot President Trump, and a whole lot more. Our final segment coming up after this.
7 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics, there's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots at Chalk combine the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about shock. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IceWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IceWingate.com.
Thanks for watching the Ike Wingate Show. If you would, we are trying to spread this mission, and you could do something to help us out right now. Whatever platform you're watching on, hit the thumbs up, especially on Rumble. That helps us in the algorithm. While you're there on Rumble, hit the follow button as well. And down in the chat, when we're live, there's a little button that says subscribe. If you're watching in your browser, you'll be able to see that. Hit the button, and for $5 a month, you become an official Ike Nation subscriber. That means you get exclusive emojis, and we can read your comments a lot more easily. But the best part is you are instrumental in the fight for truth and freedom of speech. And if you want to take it even further, hit the join button and come on over to our Ike Nation Locals community. Basically, this is an online community for people just like you who want to chat, who want to sharpen one another, share different stories, all free of big tech, free speech censorship. It's $5 a month, and by doing this, you are further supporting our mission to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, our culture, and our media. So to recap, whatever platform you're watching on, hit the thumbs up. If you're watching on X, hit the heart and retweet this post to get it out there. And then whatever other platform, hit the heart or the thumbs up or whatever the platform wants you to do. But on Rumble specifically, the best way that you can support our mission is to become a $5 a month paid subscriber right there in the live chat. If you're not seeing the subscribe button in the live chat, that means you need to watch the show on your browser. If you're watching in the mobile app, you don't see the subscribe button because then, well, Rumble would have to give part of your money to the App Store. Rumble doesn't want to do that. They want to give all of your contribution to the actual content creator, which we think is great. So, in order to do that, go out to your browser on your phone, your Safari browser, Chrome browser, whatever it is that you search the internet with, and type in rumble.com/The Ike Wingate Show. Then open the live chat. You'll see that subscribe button. Hit it there. $5 a month, recurring. You don't have to do it ever again, and you can go back to watching in the mobile app. Just one of the little things you can do to help us get to the masses as we endeavor to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, culture, and media. Thank you for being an instrumental part of this mission. All right, welcome back in. Final segment here of the Ike Wingate Show. Thank you again for being here. Make sure you follow me on X at Ike Wingate and on Rumble at the Ike Wingate Show. Like this broadcast if you're watching on Rumble or YouTube or whatever other platform you happen to be watching on. But if you're watching specifically on X, heart the post and repost right now. And again, make sure you're following me. Of course, we want to say welcome and thank you to our audience joining us on the Right Side Broadcast Network. It is great to be with you today. We will be back again on Thursday or Friday, depending on where you're watching us. But keep checking back for those broadcasts as well. Okay, now the final segment here, we want to talk about this as it relates to the Charlie Kirk assassination. Sean Ryan has had some people on his show recently. This was a few days ago. I don't remember who the guy is, but basically saying that it looked messed up. There's no way anybody I've ever met could take a rifle apart that fast. Jack Posobiec says, Sean, the rifle was not taken apart after the shooting. It was carried intact into the woods and later found intact. Not sure where you are getting that info. It's not what the case file states. So I guess, we see him with what looks to be a gun. We're talking about Tyler Robinson jumping off that roof there after the assassination. The part where the rifle is not fully intact is alleged to be when Tyler Robinson arrives at the location, where he has one part in his pant leg, one part in his backpack. And people were like, oh, this is too difficult to put together. There's no way it could have happened. Well, take a look at this reenactment of a guy timing how long it takes to take out this rifle and put it together and take a shot. All right. And so he uses the screwdriver, and within 12 seconds, he's ready to shoot. Okay. So he attaches the barrel. I'm not, an expert in firearms, the barrel to the stock with a screwdriver, one screw, and he's ready to go. The barrel has the scope on it. I don't know which part of it, the longer part was probably the barrel that was in his pant leg. I'm guessing. I don't know. But again, this guy does it right here. He has it attached in 9 seconds. He's prone and ready to shoot at 14 seconds. Okay? And so this idea that it was, he didn't have enough time to get up there and do this, it's just not checking out. But plenty of you will say there's no way it was a 30-06. And I understand that. And believe me, I'm not going to sit here and try to prove that to you because I don't know. I'm holding out there's a there are weird things that happen. And I believe, and I agree, you don't base a theory on, well, it could have happened. Maybe it did. It's possible. Very, very slim chance. There have been ballistics people that have said, depending on the type of round, the 30-06 round it was, and maybe some weird factor, it's maybe possible. Maybe. Well, okay. Now, not if it went straight through. Not if the angle was straight through. But if it was at a down angle and it hit something and it wasn't one of the, rounds that I can't remember the grade of round that some various firearms experts have talked about. Again, I'm not going to sit up here and make a case for that because, we have to be shown this information. And I understand why they're not right now because they're in the middle of this case. I'm not going to say there's no way possible that it was a 30-06. Because what if it was some weird circumstance? I don't know. And you go, well, wait a minute. When you start having too many coincidences, it doesn't make sense. I agree. I understand. But I will say this. If you ask anybody in law enforcement, and especially a coroner or anybody like that, hey, have you ever seen something really weird that just didn't make sense? Yeah, they're going to say yes. And here's what's weird is, do you ever see something that's happened and you're like, there's no way this happened? And then you find out there's surveillance footage of it later and you're like, oh, okay. I would have never guessed that. Well, that's not exactly applicable here, but I'm just giving you the concept of sometimes there are things we just don't account for in our minds that once the evidence was before us that we say, okay, well, that's really weird. But really weird stuff does happen. If you know anybody that's ever investigated car crashes, that's where you see the weirdest stuff that you would never, ever imagine or have a theory that it happened that way. And I'm just saying, I'm going into it with that mindset. Hey, is it possible? I think anything's possible if it happened just right. Look at President Trump's near assassination. You know, all the people that say it didn't happen. Think about that. How not in a bazillion years could you reenact that exact thing that happened that close. Unfortunately, it's a very, very close illustration. You know what I'm saying? So we just sometimes don't know what bullets are going to do. And we have all these people that are experts that say it's going to act this way and this way in a controlled test. You know what I'm saying? Now, people say deer. I mean, Gaetano says he's seen it happen in deer. A 30-06 stay in a deer, okay? And then you have other people that say, no, that's not possible, Gaetano. Are you saying Gaetano's lying? I mean, video would help for sure. But there are plenty of people that say, they've tried it on pigs and all this other stuff and say there's no way. I'm telling you, I appreciate what they're doing, but I will say watching those things, I'm like, you can't say definitively unless you reenact the exact thing and the exact movement and the exact density of everything that happened. And you also know the rounds, the exact rounds. So I just can't go, I respect the opinion that says there's no way. And I would say you're probably mostly right, but without all the rest of the information, there's still a possibility that it did. And then you have, explanations like this where the guy proves it ain't that hard if you've done it a few times to be ready to go. Unfortunately. All right, now let's shift to the Trump assassination attempt. Tucker Carlson did this big segment on information on Thomas Crooks, finding 20-something different usernames online, how this guy was super pro-Trump, super anti-Democrat, and made violent threats online. Then during COVID, the kid went nuts. He didn't like how Trump was dismissing COVID as the big killer that it was. Something happened to him, and he went completely the opposite and started making the same threats of violence toward people on the right and became obsessed with his hatred of Trump. And there are many, many usernames that he had associated with him that were online for years before this assassination attempt happened, but yet the FBI under Christopher Wray told us there was nothing there, that he didn't have a footprint, that there was really nothing they could find. And so Tucker Carlson unloads all of this information in one of his latest segments, if you care to see it. And then Miranda Devine with the New York Post then took it further, and according to her source, says that Thomas Crooks had a furry fetish and transgender ideology. My gosh, it continues the links between this irrational, crazy ideology, this violent lashing out, and the trans ideology, the connection between the two. And there's a post on that. She says the FBI and the Secret Service butchered this case, and you would have to check that out on her, on the New York Post. But again, this furry thing, this furry dressing up like animals, being an animal that sort of, devolves into a sexualized situation is totally wild, crazy, weird. But that's exactly what Tyler Robinson's boyfriend was involved in as well. Okay. And, it's all part of this, LGBTQ plus IA dash, .com Niner 42 or whatever it is community. But as Benny Johnson points out, the list is growing here. Charlie Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson, had a furry obsession and lived with a transgender boyfriend. The Annunciation Catholic Church shooter in Minnesota identified as trans. The Covenant Christian School in Nashville, Tennessee, the shooter there identified as trans. The Lakewood Church shooter identified as trans. The Colorado Springs shooter identified as non-binary. The Denver shooter identified as trans. The Aberdeen shooter identified as trans. And the Iowa high school shooter was a trans activist. Again, how many more attempts or murders have to occur before we correlate the two, that this is mental illness? This should not be affirmed, confirmed, or fostered or encouraged. It is sick. Like alleged Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson, Crooks appeared to have been interested in furries and exploring gender identity. It described himself with the pronouns they, them on the platform DeviantArt, which is one of the biggest online hubs for furry art and the furry community. By the way, a furry is someone who has an interest in anthropomorphized animal characters. Anthropomorphized animal characters, often as a sexual fetish. 2 accounts linked to Crooks' primary email were found on DeviantArt under usernames Epic Microwave and The Epic Microwave. The account suggests he had an obsession with scantily clad cartoon characters sporting muscle-bound male bodies and female heads. Again, you have this profile of someone who spends all this time online, which makes you then wonder, are they being manipulated? Is this part of a program like MK Ultra? Well, Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee thinks the answer is yes. He thinks that Thomas Crooks was groomed by CIA and MK Ultra style mind control programs and dark intelligence ops for the sole purpose of taking out President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. He said they programmed this kid. He said, you got a kid who's got access to guns or has some knowledge of a firearm. He was programmed. The facts have been buried or burned, or whoever knew is either sitting on a beach somewhere enjoying a fruity drink, or they're dead. That's what he said to Benny Johnson. He says they're lying. Look at the deep state. And so, where are the parents? The whole situation with the guy's house is super weird. Allegedly, there was no silverware in there. Allegedly, it was so clean, it was like a doctor's office. I mean, and you want to talk about people acting really strange after it. Thomas Crooks' parents. So we get all this information. Was there some operation? I don't know. But what happened to the guy? Did he just go? I mean, he was nuts before COVID on the right. COVID happened. He became completely nuts in the opposite direction on the left. Did that happen naturally? I mean, something's really, really off with this. And by golly, we should have answers by now, shouldn't we? Now, Megyn Kelly, speak of the devil, is not buying this story. She suspects the FBI handed over info on Thomas Crooks being a furry to Miranda Devine at the New York Post to head fake people from Tucker Carlson's story on Crooks. So basically, this was a diversion from the Tucker Carlson story about all these different usernames, and that basically the furry thing was going to be enough, and we were all just going to buy that. Anyway, that's what she thinks. Miranda Devine has refuted that. Megyn Kelly has sort of walked it back a little bit and said, okay, just the whole thing's weird, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. All right. Recently on the Sean Ryan show, Charlie Kirk's head of security, Brian Harpole, tears up recounting the day that Charlie Kirk was killed. I'll play you a little bit of that so you can get some insight into what went on, because there's been plenty of people play Monday morning quarterback and say they should have done this, they should have done that. Which, by the way, when you have a neck wound, you can't wrap the neck. That would suffocate the person. You can't put a tourniquet on the neck. So what you have to do is you have to raise the arm And if the wound is on this side, the pressure is on this side, and you're wrapping around the neck and under the arm. So you're keeping pressure on that neck, but you're not putting, a circle of pressure to asphyxiate the person. And so when you see in that video where Charlie Kirk's hand is up and everyone's like, he's alive right there, Charlie Kirk isn't dead. This is what I'm talking about. There's so many idiots out there. They raised his arm up to wrap it. That is likely what happened. That's the only way to put pressure on a neck wound. And so, again, it just goes to show you, once you have the full picture, you go, oh, okay. Everyone's like, no, he's alive. His arm's raising. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, Charlie Kirk was dead as soon as that bullet hit him.
And so he grabs him, and then I turn and see him start to the ground. But then I'm just thinking gunfire. And then he's leading to the ground because I'm on his right. Well, he was shot right here in the left of his neck. And so I jumped down on top of Charlie to cover him because where we're at, it's concealment at best. It's a tabling with cloth on it. So it's not hard cover. Our guys are starting piling back in, and they're down, putting a human shield around him, but it's still just concealment. It's not cover. And so I initially dove down on top of him and just was on him almost face to face. And then when I was doing that, I went down, I could see the wound. And so I immediately shoved my hand into the wound to stop the bleeding, just trying to find the pressure. And it was coming out still. And I'm on top of him, not close. And it was still coming out enough that it squirted through my fingers and I could taste it on my lips. And so I was like, man, this is a bad wound, right? And so I was just pushing that, and I don't know at that time. I know when you look at the clock, I was on him within 5 seconds and had my hands in him. And then I don't know when I put the first piece of medical on him. It was sometime after that, because I carry it right here. And that's why you carry it on you. You got to have it there. So, but then I remember pulling back away and thinking, damn, this is bad. Like it's coming out. And I don't remember saying this, but the guys told me, and you can kind of see it on the video. I said, prep the car. And I just prepped, and you see the two guys just take off. And that car's prepped in position, but what I mean, doors are open, yeah. I mean, the whole deal. And then so we're doing pressure control there, and it's a carotid artery, so you can't put a tourniquet on it, obviously. And in my head, I'm like, pack pressure pray, man. These are what you can do for that wound. But then, so I'm on top, and then I told the guys, we got to exfil. We're all out here in the open. We're trying to give wound care, and we got to get off this X, right? And so, but I just said, we're exfilling. And so we got up, I think it was like 15, 16 seconds from the time the shot happened to the time we were picking him up and heading.
15 to 16 seconds.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. And so
that's fast.
Yeah. And this is horrible, but
it's fast to get an initial assessment, plug a hole, pick them up, move them.
Yeah. And so it's just like, dang. And it's some horrible realities of it too, that like I told the guys this, and I haven't. When I jumped down on him, he had doll's eyes. And so I was like, man, these are wounds incompatible with life.
You know.
Yeah.
You want to take a break?
Intense to watch, isn't it? Intense to watch. You could tell this guy obviously cared about Charlie Kirk. 16 seconds from the shot fired to them exfilling removing Charlie Kirk after getting him down, packing and patching the wound, and they're out. I mean, that's incredibly impressive. Even though so many of these people in this security team have been said to be Mossad agents and all of this stuff with no proof whatsoever. Look how it affected them. You say, oh, well, he's probably lying or he's just that. I mean, I guess people can be good actors, but that looked pretty genuine to me. Yet these people have been maligned and smeared, and they cared about this guy, and they couldn't have done anything else. Are you talking about the ambulance being there? I don't know why there wasn't an ambulance there. We do need some answers on some things. I'm not saying that. You know, I think there's more to it. I think Tyler Robinson had some help in some way, potentially. And we don't understand the distraction guy. What was that about? So there are things that need to be explained. I'm not saying it's all Tyler Robinson and nobody else. And I'm not saying there aren't some things that are really, really strange about, you know, not having an ambulance there. I haven't heard a good explanation for that yet. If you know of one, let me know. But this security team, from all accounts, from everything I've observed, loved Charlie Kirk, did everything they possibly could, and they stuck their fingers in the wound. Then they packed the wound and patched the wound and applied pressure and got him out of there in 16 seconds. Unfortunately, you heard what the guy said, and the thing that was so hard for him to restate and relive was he had doll's eyes. You understand what that means? His eyes were dead. You look at a doll and it's staring off. It's not fixated on anything. There's no one home, which is very sad when it's somebody that you care about. To see them that way, to know that you will never see that sparkle back in their eye on this side of eternity. But at the same time, you take comfort knowing this dude was a believer in Christ. He is rejoicing with the King of Kings. And by all accounts, never felt any pain. It was so instantaneous. And this guy's out here talking about it. This guy's explaining it. He probably doesn't want to. It's probably the last thing he wants to do, but he is being accused of being in some kind of conspiracy or something like that. And for the sake of Charlie's memory and legacy, he feels compelled that he must tell the story no matter how painful it is. I mean, that's heroic. Not to mention what these guys did on that day, putting themselves in harm's way to do what they could. Anyway, I'm ready for the truth to come out. I'm ready for this trial to be publicized. I'm ready for it from the standpoint of closure and answers and accountability. And I'm sure a lot of people are. But it's going to be a while. Probably, I would guess, at least a year before this thing gets to trial, unfortunately. We'll keep you posted along the way. All right, time now for today's Triggered Liberal.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, well, according to Michelle Obama, she's triggered by white people's hair traps. Yeah, she's triggered by white people hair standards. So it's because of the standards that white people hair has that she is so oppressed. I mean, could you think of a more privileged woman that complains more? I don't think one exists. Take a look.
Worry about it. Let me explain something to white people. Our hair comes out of our head naturally in a curly pattern. So when we're straightening it to follow your beauty standards, we are trapped by the straightness. That's why so many of us can't swim and we run away from the water. People won't go to the gym because we're trying to keep our hair straight for y'all. It is exhausting and it's so expensive and it takes up so much time.
Who asked her to keep her hair straight? We're doing it for y'all. For who? Who's asking you to do that? I don't care what your hair looks like.
Braids are for y'all so we can work harder and focus on the work. So why do we need an act of law to tell white folks to get out of our hair. Don't tell me how to wear my hair. Don't wonder about it. Don't touch it. Just don't.
Wow. Does that seem kind of racist of her to be saying that to white people? As if white people are just such an inconvenience to her. Maybe they ask her questions about her hair because they don't understand. I don't know. I don't know what is happening here. She doesn't explain it. All she presents, though, is that because of white people, she has to go through a lot of trouble to straighten her hair. Because of white people, black people don't swim. Was that part of it? Because of white people, black people don't go to the gym. Okay. You can't blame white people for everything, Michelle Obama. Again, you were treated like a queen when you were in the White House from the standpoint of the media, but yet you've been nothing but angry, and playing the victim. And now, because of whatever choices you decide to make with your hair, you are blaming the white man. I don't get it. You're completely unhinged and you're completely triggered. And you are a liberal.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, that's going to do it. Make sure you follow me on X at Ike Wingate. Thank you to our friends at Right Side Broadcasting. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and follow me to make sure you know what's going on at Ike Wingate on X. Remember, it is a time that matters, maybe beyond any time in history, because there is a battle for the truth, and we will not back down, and instead we will double down because the truth is too important. And you can count on it right here on the Ike Wingate Show. Thanks for being here.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to the Ike Wingate Show.